They say when a baby is born, so is a mother. But while you are there to help your baby grow into the person he or she is meant to be, who is there to help you? Many women feel lost and alone when they become mothers, wondering, who am I now? Sometimes it feels like the transformation from woman to mother is as radical as a caterpillar's transformation into a butterfly. Did you know that inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar literally turns into goop before it rearranges itself into a butterfly? This podcast is about the goop, what soul transformation looks like as you transition from being a woman to a mom. Your baby's growth matters, but yours does too. You're not alone. I'm your host, Brittany Meng. Welcome to the Motherhood Metamorphosis. Hi everyone, this is Brittany Meng, the host of the Motherhood Metamorphosis, and I'd like to welcome you to the Season 3 wrap-up episode. These episodes are really a great reflection for me to think back on last season, also a way for me to share a little bit about myself, try to give you a little insight into who I am, what this podcast is about as we reflect on what the last season has brought us. So, as I said, my name is Brittany Meng. I'm the host of this podcast. And by way of just sharing a little bit about me, because we really focus on the guests in this episode, I wanted to share 10 fun random facts I wrote about myself on my blog earlier this month. So, I am Brittany Meng of the BAM blog. BAM is my initials, Brittany Arpkey Meng. A friend once said she thought it stood for Badass Mama, but I laughed and said no, but I'll take it. I write about spiritual pruning and growth, parenting toddlers and teens, ADHD and autism, military life, art projects, reading, marriage. My blog has no niche. It literally is just a collection of my writings, images of my life, and funny stuff my kids and husband say. So by way of an introduction, here are 10 random facts about me and my life. I had twins at age 23, biggest surprise of my life. I turned 35 5 days after I had my 5th child, and she was the second biggest surprise of my life. I'm a military spouse who lived in England for 3 years, and I miss it every day. I currently live in Illinois. I figured out how to record and produce this podcast from scratch, but I have no idea how to reconnect my internet to my TV in my bedroom, so that's fun. I'd rather paint, so read, do yoga, cook, cross-stitch, write, do anything else than clean my house. I've created approximately 76 different chore charts for my kids in the last 15 years that I've been a mom, but I'm sure the 77th chore chart will be the winner. I bought a pink jacket in 2006, used from Plato's Closet. Does anybody remember that store? And it has been my favorite for years, but it is literally falling apart. And I finally just got a pink jacket, and I'm so excited. Guys, I told you this is a list of randomness. I am currently reading A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas and The Book of Longings by Sue Monk-Kidd, and these two books couldn't be more different. The Court of Silver Flames is a super spicy novel with a beautiful redemption arc, and the second one is amazing historical fiction about Jesus' wife. I love them both. And side note, when I wrote this, I was still reading them, but I have finished both of them and can highly recommend them. Okay, we're on number 9. I just got a personalized rejection from Brene Brown's assistant after I asked Brene to be on this podcast. Because nothing ventured, nothing gained. The rejection made my day, even though I'm sad that she's not going to come on. And number 10, last one, I love lemon anything. So yes, 10 random facts about me. If you want to see the pink jacket, because it's very cute, you can go to my Facebook page and there's a picture of it. All right, let's talk about season 3 and wrapping up. This season was great. I loved the conversations I had with the women that came on as guests. We had 14 guests on the podcast, and I just want to say thank you to all of them. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for putting your stories out there, for talking to me, and for sharing your heart and your lives with the people who listen to this podcast. We talked about personalities, IVF, divorce, twins, holiday madness, and staying sane, being a military spouse, Down syndrome, making mistakes and second chances with our adult kids, SIDS, secondary infertility, motherhood in the environment, the gift of the unexpected, parenting teens, and postpartum. So this is a wide array of topics, but they all have the thread of how motherhood and these experiences have transformed us as women and as moms. So I love that that singular thread can bring all of these women to this space, and there is room for our stories. There is room to listen and say, hey, this is my story. Maybe it'll resonate with you. Well, let's talk about stats for season 3. Like I said, we had 14 guests. During the season 3 time frame, so October of 2022 to February 2023, we had 10.2 thousand downloads, which is awesome. That would be for the current season 3, and people who listened to previous episodes as well for seasons 1 and 2. So that's awesome. I'm so excited about that number. The top 3 downloaded episodes were Lisi's episode about Down syndrome at 1,064. Next episode was Sarah Springer, and she about holiday stress and dealing with that. And her episode had 653 downloads. And number 3 was Esther and Sarah's episode about parenting adult children and renewed relationships, and their episode had 599 downloads. So I'm sure this has changed by the time this recording comes out, but at the time of this recording, those are the numbers. So those are awesome. I'm so thrilled. Thank you everybody who's listened, and I really hope these episodes have touched your heart. In total for the entire podcast, we've had 67 episodes, including this one, and the total downloads are 35,500 and growing. So thank you for listening. I love looking at stats, and Buzzsprout, the hosting site that I have my podcast on, gives me stats for where people are listening. There are people listening from every continent from around the world, which is amazing. Besides Antarctica, I don't think there's many penguins listening to this podcast, but every continent, people are listening, and that just blows my mind. There are mothers from all over the world listening, absorbing, and reflecting on their own stories. And, there's thousands of stats for the US, thousands of stats for the UK, and, lots of countries, but I'm really interested in the countries that have had like one person listening. And so I wanted to read the 10 countries at the very bottom of the list where they had one person listen. So there's Aruba, the Virgin Islands, Myanmar, Gambia, Algeria, Kyrgyzstan, Lesotho, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Bangladesh. So, hey listener, if you are from these countries, I'm just giving a shout out to you, and thank you for listening. I'm so glad you found this podcast. And if you are from one of these countries, just drop a note in the Facebook group and say, hey, it's me, and I would love to hear from you. Buzzsprout also gives me top cities, and so here's are the 5 top cities for listeners. The first one is Lynchburg, Virginia, which makes total sense because I used to live there. So shout out to friends from Lynchburg. Thank you guys for supporting me. I love you. Next one is New York, New York. And this really surprised me because I don't have any personal connections there. So, hey, New York, New Yorkers, thank you for listening to the Motherhood Metamorphosis. The next one is Forest, Virginia, which is basically Lynchburg. They just like run into each other. So shout out, hey friends in Forest, and I love you guys. Number 4 is Houston, Texas. Hey, y'all. And number 5 is Los Angeles, California, which neither one of those I have any personal connections to. So thank you, friends. I love you. I'm so glad they're listening from West Coast, East Coast, and everywhere in between. So I wanted to kind of reflect and remind listeners, if you're newer to this podcast or you haven't gone all the way back to season 1, of what the why of this podcast is. What is the backstory? How did this podcast come to be? So when I lived in England, I had 2 friends that were very dear to me, and they were in their 2nd and 3rd years of motherhood. They came over one day to my house, and we were just talking about motherhood and growth. And she said she hadn't seen any books about the soul, life, or inner transformation that women go through when they become mothers that are not child or parenting focused. I mean, there's tons of parenting books out there. There's tons of child-rearing books out there. But there's nothing really that talks about what you are going through as a woman and how you are transforming and what's happening inside your life. And we had a really good conversation about that one day. There is such an inner shift that occurs And it's why so many new moms feel lost and try to cling to their old selves when that person just honestly no longer exists. Yet there's so much pressure in our culture to be more than just a mom. So we talked about, why are there not books about this transformation with motherhood as the catalyst? So we chatted about this a lot, and then we laughed because as much as we would want to read a book about motherhood transformation and what's going on inside of our souls, we admitted that none of us in that season had time to read. And so that is why this podcast idea was born, because maybe you don't have time to read, but you could have time to listen to a podcast, because podcast is a medium that allows you to have a life outside of that medium. You can nurse your baby, you can take a walk, you can fold laundry or cook or clean your house or drive and still engage with a podcast and feed your soul while you're doing it. So as much as I am a writer and that is my first love, I knew that I wanted to reach an audience of women who do not have time to read. So each episode I see as like a chapter in this book that I might have written, and how I want it to speak to you. Maybe the story doesn't have anything to do with your situation, but I hope that you can glean something out of each episode that speaks to your heart and lets you know that you're not alone. My initial audience for this podcast is mothers who are in the first 5 years of motherhood, which is such a transformational time. Whether you have one child, whether you have 4 by the time you reach the 5th year of motherhood. But this podcast is also for women who are going through any transition, and maybe all your kids are going to school and you're wondering what to do with your life. Maybe you have teenagers, maybe they're leaving the nest. There is a soul transformation that happens to us in each of those transitions, and we become someone new. So thank you for listening, whether you're a new mom in that first 5 years, whether you're an experienced mom. I hope that you can find something for this podcast. It is for you. So if you've listened to any of the previous wrap-up episodes, you know that I usually share a sneak peek of what is to come for season 4. And guys, I do not have a sneak peek. I have not recorded any episodes. In fact, I haven't even emailed anybody to ask them to be guests on the show. I'm just full disclosure. I'm really tired right now. My husband has been deployed for the last 4 months, and I am dragging. I am solo parenting 4 kids. Actually, no, I have 5 kids. My bad. Oh my gosh. That is not going in the bloopers. I definitely have 5 kids. I'm tired, and I was thinking today of all my favorite podcasts I listen to and how at the end they give shout outs to their production team, the people who do the sound recording, the people who do their social media promo, the people who do their editing, the people who email their guests. And if I was going to give a shout out to all those people, they would just be me. I'm the only one working on this podcast. I am the one who emails the guests, who records the interviews, who writes the notes, who edits the podcasts, who uploads them to the site, who creates the social media graphics, and who does all the social media promo. So it is a lot of work. It's the work of like 4 to 6 people at least, and it's really hard. I think I've shared this in the past that podcasting is a medium that I can see stats, and like I said, I'm sharing the joy of those stats in this episode, but it's also one that's hard to feel connected to the listener because stats don't love you back. And so when I see your comments or when you send me messages and let me know that the podcast really spoke to you, like that encourages me so much, because numbers just are not warm and fuzzy. They are prickly like a cactus, and they're beautiful to look at, but you cannot hold them to your chest and get warm fuzzies from them. So I think that that's another reason the podcast has felt really draining, is it's kind of a medium that holds you at arm's length and is beautiful, but is hard to uplift you all the time from a creator's perspective. So I love your comments. I love your reviews on Apple or your stars in Spotify. That really helps me keep going. I do want to give a special shout out to all of our patrons or supported this podcast, and they are Casey, Kathy, Sarah, Michelle, Anne, Marla, Julia, Sandy, Kimberly, Lauren, Sabrina, Laura, Stevie, Savannah, Allie, and Jessica. Ladies, thank you so much for your financial support. I'm just so thankful that you have committed your money each month, whether it's $3 or $5. Some of you have been supporting me for over a year. Thank you so much for doing that. It means so much to me, and it helps me pay for the podcast, and I just really appreciate you. You've also had 5 supporters on Buy Me a Coffee. Thank you, Esther, Sarah, Aaron, Francis, and Caitlin. I am so thankful for you. Your one-time donation just lit up my life. And when I got that email and said that you had donated a coffee or the funds for a coffee to me for this podcast, so thank you very much. All right, you guys, I hope you can catch up on any episodes you missed in season 3, or if you are the biggest fan of the Motherhood Metamorphosis and you have never missed an episode, I hope you will look back over the episodes and send your favorites to a friend who may be in the goop right now. I am not sure when this podcast will be back. I really need to take a break and kind of get through the rest of this deployment. I don't want to be done with the podcast. I have ideas for how I want to move forward, but I do not have a time frame for when it will be back. So please keep following, listen to your favorite episodes. I'd love to hear your comments, but stay tuned for what could come next. I'm not giving up on it, but I do need a break. So thank you guys for your support. Thank you for listening to this wrap up. I hope you have a great day. You are doing a wonderful job in your motherhood. Know that you are loved and you are seen and you're not alone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Next, tell your friends. Podcasts are a slow growth type of social media, so promo works best when it's from person to person. If you know another mom who's in the goop right now, send her a text of encouragement and the link to the episode that is speaking to your heart right now. If you have a story about your own matrescence, the physical, emotional, hormonal, and social transition that occurs when someone becomes a mother, please leave a comment below. I want this channel to be a place where women can build community about the challenges and joys of their own motherhood metamorphosis. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope it encouraged you and gave you some good food for thought. If you ever have any questions, comments, or you'd like to reach out to me personally, you can email me at brittanyameng@gmail.com. Hi everyone, this is Brittany Meng, your host of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. Okay, we're going to start that over again. The next one is Sarah Springer at number 3. Actually, that's wrong. Let's start over again.